changing lives.
Good evening, viewers. We are live on Hope TV Ghana. This evening, I want to welcome you in a special way to our week-long stewardship seminar. I am sure you are excited in your home because Ghana has won, but we still would have to study. For this reason, we are blessed to still have our facilitator ready and prepared for us. We are looking at financial stewardship as an act of worship. Our presenter is going to do a presentation for 30 minutes. Then after the 30 minutes, you'd have the opportunity to bring in your questions on the number 055-968-0066, 055-968-0066. Our facilitator for the whole seminar is in the person of Pastor Dr. Paul Edu-Sampa, who is the former Stewardship and Strategy Planning Director of the Southern Ghana Union Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Currently, he is the Family Ministries Director. He is poised to help us understand all the challenges in relation to stewardship. So I'll take this opportunity to welcome Pastor. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. And you?
I'm fine.
I'm sure you are excited.
Yes.
Yes, Ghana has won.
Well, that is true.
We are going through today's seminar. Pastor, what are we looking at today?
Today, we'll do the investigative judgment on tithing.
Investigative
judgment on tithing.
Whoa, interesting. Wow.
Yes.
I'm sure viewers will have lots of questions to ask.
Well, I'm prepared for them.
We want to see who is investigating and why.
I'm really preparing for them.
So that is the topic for tonight. We would ask Pastor to do a presentation, but don't forget that the number to send in your question is 055-968-0066, 055-968-0066. At this point, we would go to Pastor. Stay tuned as he presents to us.
Good evening, viewers, and we are grateful that we could meet with you today and continue with the studies we started yesterday. Yesterday we looked at giving holistically, but today we are zeroing it down to tithing. And I have titled it Investigative Judgment on Tithing. I hope that you benefit from it, and from tonight you will not be the same. Yesterday we established the fact that biblical giving is an act of worship and not a way of funding or fundraising for local churches. It is an act of worship, and therefore it is very judgmental. It is an act of worship, and if you don't do it right, you may do it all the same, but the needed blessings will not flow as being promised in the Bible. Remember yesterday you came across this, that God gave us an example of giving by showing us his portion in our increase, and that is the tithe. And he made it so straight that he gave you the figure straight away, because he is supposed to do that. God decides on the proportion of the tithe, and he says you must or you should return 10% of your increase. So that is his portion. And this is also to demonstrate that when it comes to your turn, you should also do same. So God decides on the proportion of the tithe, and he decided for 10%. Man decides on the proportion of the offering, and still you are struggling with it. You still want to dip your hand into your pocket. You still want to take your wallet and give God what you want. But we're talking about proportion. And there are so many things in the Bible that makes you guilty if you don't go proportionally. Because look at here. If you look at this drawing that yesterday I showed to you, this chart a little bit, you will realize something very unique. That the proportional approach, which is a percentage base, It's what we have to give because we have already received it from the original owner. And so you can see the man in the middle struggling to take it from God, and then it becomes his. And therefore he is also returning his portion. And this portion must be decided. I believe that since yesterday you struggled with it, and you've now made up your mind that by God's grace, when any income comes to me from any other avenue, I am giving so much percentage to God. It could be 5% on the offering. It could be 10% on the offering. It could be more than even 10% of the tithe. And that is what we are learning today, because all the quotations that we quoted yesterday demands a proportional giving, and not just giving in the form of offering, because for the tithe, God decides on that. But the offering, you are offering. It is you who is offering to God. And therefore, God cannot tell you, give me 5% of your increase after tithing. If he does that, then it is no longer offering. It turns into a demand. But because God will not demand anything from you, he has given you that opportunity that if you want to give an offering, it should come from your heart. It should come from you and not him. And so he's giving you that opportunity that, in my case, I worked with you, my portion in your increase is 10% tithe. Now, if you want to give an offering as your appreciation to what I have done, then decide for yourself. And because I have already given it to you, I need a portion of it, that's a proportional giving. And therefore, I believe that before this coming Sabbath, you have fully decided that from henceforth, any income that I receive from the Lord, this is the percentage that I'll give in appreciation to what he has done for me. Now, let's move to the investigative judgment that we're going to treat tonight. Beloved, tithe, as quoted from Malachi chapter 3 verse 10, says we should bring all, the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and test me now in this, says the Lord of hosts. If I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you blessings until it overflows. That is from the New American Standard, but from the New King James, it says bring all. You can underline, yesterday I told you, underline the word all, the tithes. And remember, the tithes is in plural. You've not checked that one. It's not all the tithes, it's all the tithes. Because you may receive different revenue or income from different places. And therefore, you should be smart enough to bring all the tithes, whether it's coming from a regular income or irregular income or a donation or whatever. You must know what is an increase and that what portion belongs to God. If you do that, then the windows of heaven will automatically open and shower blessings on you until you have no room enough to receive it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when tithe is returned, and today I'm making it so factual, when tithe is returned, only two individuals can testify if it is a true tithe or otherwise. Only two individuals. The first person is the giver. You, the giver, know if it is a true tithe or you are giving something to represent something. Now I'm saying this. Why? Because you place it in the envelope and it is done by you yourself. And therefore, sometimes if I'm traveling out of the country and you get to the immigration area, before they take before you check in, they try to find out if you did the packing yourself or somebody did it for you. And I wonder why they should ask me, because I have my luggage and I want to check in. But they want to be sure whether you are aware of things in the bag. And therefore, I am saying that it is you, the first person who knows the content of the envelope you are returning to the Lord as tithes. Then you know what he did before the income and tithe accordingly. You know what you did, whether you worked for the money to come, whether it was given to you as a donation, or whether you know where the source of the income, you know where it is coming from. And then number 3, you are aware that it is 10%. You see, and that one you cannot say you are not aware, except that you want to deceive God. You, the giver, is always aware if the money in the envelope to be dumped into the offering bowl is 10% or not. You should know, and therefore you are aware. Now, having said this, if you are aware that it is not 10% and yet you pretend that it is 10%, you don't expect anything from the receiver, who is God. You don't expect anything because you know you have not done it right. So don't expect anything. Now let's talk about the receiver as well. In this case, the receiver is the one to reward. That is the most interesting part of the whole thing. It is the receiver, God, who is to reward you in earnest. And therefore, if you yourself know that you've not done it right, he is also aware that what you have done is an insult to him. And allow me to use those words so you understand what you are doing. If you get that confidence, like Ananias gathered, and walk down to the altar and lay it at the feet of Jesus and claim that this is all that you are supposed to have brought, just as Ananias died. Today we are blessed. By the grace of God, we have long room to repent. But if it is in the days of Ananias, many of us will die at the altar, because we know that what we are bringing is just something to represent something. So the giver is also aware of what the content is. Even before you present it, he's aware. Now, number 2, I'm saying that the receiver must be convinced that the amount brought in the envelope is 10% of the income he gave. Can you imagine this? He gave before you were able to give your 10%. And so I'm saying that the receiver must be convinced that, yes, I gave the money, and that what he has brought, to the best of my knowledge, is a 10% of the quantum that I gave. The receiver knows of it very well. And so you sometimes even offend him when you put in something which you are aware that is a deception. It goes seriously against you. We are now investigating on why we return faithful tithes, so-called faithful tithes, but we are not receiving the needed or the promise that God has given, that he is going to bless us and shower the blessing to the extent that we may have no room to receive it. Now, we have been returning since 20, 30 years. You joined the Seventh-day Adventists. But look at your life and check it well. Today, we are investigating why the blessings are not flowing. And I'm telling you, if you have a decision tonight to do it the Bible way, to do it the Creator's way, then I'm assuring you that right from tonight, the windows of heaven will be open to you, and God will shower his blessings until you have no room enough to receive it. Now, my third point is, if he, the Creator, detests any unfaithfulness in what is brought, will he open the floodgates of heaven? I'm asking you. That's a question for you. If the Creator detests, unless he tells me that he's gone asleep and he doesn't know what is transpiring between himself and you. And definitely, I'm saying that if he detects any unfaithfulness in what is brought, will he open the floodgates of heaven and shower those blessings he has promised? The answer is negative. It's not coming. It is not coming. Beloved, let us get converted in this, and let us receive the blessings, for we are too much struggling to survive, and yet this is a simple way the Lord wants us to use in order to prosper, in order to benefit the entire church. Go back to your roots and let us do it right. Now, I'm saying the directive from God to the giver. This one is also very important. The directive is simple. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. So my next statement is, have you checked on all sorts of income before you brought the tithe? That is the reason why in Ghana here, we must do this on daily basis. Daily basis. Because if you have done it correct, the Lord is not expecting you to return your tithe at the end of the month. It is daily affairs, and He has meeting with you every week, every Sabbath. God meets with you spiritually. That's what the church stands for. Every Sabbath, the Lord comes to His holy temple and fellowship with His children, with the assurance that at the end of service, the sick will be healed, congregation will be sanctified, and we go back home in a renewed spirit and strength. And therefore, He Himself is coming to meet with you on the Sabbath. It doesn't mean at the end of the month. It means that every week there's one Sabbath. So every week, God is going to visit with you. And therefore, if you have made some income from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, by Friday before the close of the day, by sunset, you should know what the Lord has blessed you with. And especially, this is where the problem is coming from the irregular income. We are not able to check. Sometimes you receive and you consume it right there. You receive and you spend it right there. And so you think that as for that one, because you bought something with it on your way and because it was not your regular income, God doesn't deserve any tithe in it. But it was God. Let me make it so clear to you. It is God who touched the heart of who gave it to you. It was God who assisted you in making that transaction so fast so you can get something to take care of the family. And therefore, He's aware that there has been a record of income in your life. You see, the whole tithe is tied on income. In and come. And therefore, when there is any income, know that you owe God a portion of 10%. Now, I'm saying that it could be a regular income, which could be your monthly salary. It comes every month. But I'm worried if a Ghanaian in this country can say that, as for me, I only live on my monthly income or my regular income, which is my salary. It's going to be shocking to hear that. Sometimes I'm paid from this office, and before I get home, I don't even know what is left, because the demand is so much that I'm not sure that we can live on only our salaries. If you does, then you are exceptionally good, but I'm not. And so I'm saying that it could be your tithe, could be from your regular salary, or it could be from an irregular business that you use to support your regular income. And those ones sometimes comes on daily basis. You should know when you record an increase in your life. You should know it. You should know when you get an income in your situation. You should know it. So that if you know you'll be tempted with what you have gotten, then my advice to you is, at the end of the day when you get home, go and look for your tithe envelope and give God's portion there. Don't wait for all to come, because you may forget about some, and the question is, bring all the tithes will put you to a guilty situation. So look at that. And then sometimes it's not about an income that you earned, but it could be a gift. A woman told me that, Pastor, do I have to return tithe on gifts that I receive? I said, from where? And she said, I have a daughter in the United Kingdom and one in the United States. The United States lady gives me $100 every month for food. And the UK lady gives me some 50 pounds. And so I'm getting 50 pounds on regular basis from my daughter in UK and $100 in the US. So I quickly took a calculator and calculated it. The amount I got it was even bigger than some workers who are doing regular jobs in this country. The amount that we got was bigger. And I told the woman, Madam, I have a job that I'm going to perform on your behalf. He said, what is it? I said, I'm going to pray for God for your children to become jobless, to lose their jobs, so that they will continue to support you with the money they send. And she said, no, Pastor. If you do that, I will be in trouble. And I told her, if God is touching the hearts of your children and providing for them their income, and they thinking about you sending some, you want to take all for yourself. And therefore, the one who is protecting the children there has given you this. They gave it to you as a gift, but you have received it as your income. And therefore, you needed to do something about it to show your appreciation, and of course, to give God his portion so that these children could continue to support you and you will not go worry or wanting. Then there are others who are also saying that loans. But you see, loans are not income. They are not increase. Loans are prepaid amounts that you receive. So it's going to turn into a capital, and when you use the loan, it will give you an increase or an income, and then you return the tithe on the income, not the capital. You don't return tithe on your capital, you return tithe on your income. Know this, tithe from regular income does not take place of any irregular income in order to fulfill the quotes or tithe. And this is what I mean. If you get monies, side issues that you can spend as an income, you don't wait until you receive your monthly salary before you pay. Or once you pay your tithe on monthly salary, it means all those income is for you alone. You'll be guilty of it because God used the word all the tithes, and the tithe is in plural. It means that he's aware that outside the regular income, there could be monies here and there that will support your living. And so make sure that you work on that. Maybe those are the monies that eventually does not make your tithe a real tithe before the Creator. Today we are investigating. If that is your problem, I advise that find a place and keep your tithe envelope. And do that on daily basis. And by the coming Sabbath, you will see a great change in your returns. And you will believe, I'm saying that, why are you giving and all this time you've been given, and yet you are not receiving the needed blessing? We are doing the investigation today. If this is your problem, note it down and make a change. And I believe that the Creator will visit you. This one is a little bit technical, but I need to let you know this. That some people have problem with the Sabbath preparation and Sabbath observance. Remember this. How does God count days? If you check from Genesis chapter 1 verse 5, the Bible says, God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. It went on up to the seventh day. And so God doesn't start counting a day from midnight. He counts it from sunset. As soon as the sun sets, the end of the day has come. We have entered into a new day. And that is why on Fridays, we actually welcome the Sabbath at sundown. That's what we do, to welcome the Sabbath. So Sabbath will start from Friday sundown, travel through the night to the next day, next morning, and then carry us through the morning till the evening when the sun sets again. The 24-hour Sabbath have been observed. Now this is your problem that could lower you so low that those blessings from heaven will not flow on you. Many of us have problem keeping the Sabbath, and of course taking very good note of the day of preparation, which is Friday. Now, can it be that your work schedule have been eaten into your Sabbath hours and therefore makes God reject your tithe? Have you ever thought about this one? Now, let's say you work in Accra and you start going to work early in the morning around 7. And then you drive, get to the workplace, or you join a bus to the workplace. You go and work. Maybe you close at 5 or you close at 6. And then you join another bus or another vehicle to bring you down. And so when you want to calculate the number of hours you've worked, it starts from the morning when you left until you come back home. And so many of us eat into the Sabbath. Sometimes you get home around 8, around 9 p.m. You have already spent 3 hours of the Sabbath, not with the Lord. You've spent it in business because you've not gotten home yet. Where are you coming from? You are coming from work. And so until you get home, you are still at work. When you get home, you have closed. You need to check this. It's very, very technical. Now I'll show you one of them in the crucifixion account of our Lord Jesus Christ from Luke chapter 23, verse 54 to 56. The Bible says, that day was a preparation. And this is the reason why many of our Sabbath keepers don't prepare for the Sabbath. And so they are tempted to work on the Sabbath in a way. That day was a preparation day, and the Sabbath drew near. And the women who had come with him from Galilee followed after, and they observed the tomb and how his body was laid. Verse 56. Then they returned and prepared spices. They returned and prepared spices. So all they needed, they have returned, they have prepared the spices. All they needed was to embalm Christ with the spices that they have prepared. All they needed was to just go there and maybe lose the clothes they tied him with, and then put the ointment on him, and they are done with it. But look at what the women did. They returned and prepared spices and fragrant oil, and they rested on the Sabbath according to the commandment. They refused to go back to the cemetery, even though the Son of God is passed on. Yet they have to keep the commandment as it is. Now, if it were you, this is your question. If it were you, will you call this a breaking of the Sabbath? No, you will not. You will go and do it and feel proud that you have done it. And so we need to check against the edges of the Sabbath. It eats into our time, and it doesn't make us a faithful, Sabbath keepers. And therefore, because your work eats into the Sabbath, sometimes 9 o'clock as a hairdresser, you are still in the salon working on people. Well, some will go to church with it the next day, and so on and so forth. So you eat into the Sabbath. And let me tell you, the income that you make between the beginning of the Sabbath and until when you close, if it is added on, it brings you another problem. Let me explain with the next slide and you understand. Look at this text. Leviticus 23 and verse 3. The Creator says, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is Sabbath of solemn rest. On that day, have a holy convocation. That means go to church. That is the only directive from the Bible on you. On that day, have a holy convocation. Then there's a warning there. You shall do no work on it. You shall do no work on it. And we are talking about a 24-hour Sabbath. And you are there in the saloon working. So eventually, the Lord warned you not to work. But are you saying that God will stand too low to warn you not to work, and yet when you work and you accrue some income, He will take the income from you as a blessing? Do you think God will do this? And that is the most serious aspect of the thing. He warned you not to work on the Sabbath, and you gather the money that you made for the week, including the Sabbath, and you tell God, this is the whole Sabbath, this is the whole tithe. The problem you have created is because He warned you not to work and you have worked, you have already become a disobedient child, and so your tithe is not acceptable. And how will He open the floodgates of heaven when you are doing what He has warned you not to do? Is it the money that God is looking for, or He's looking for an obedient child to stay with? And that's what you need to revisit and stop working on the Sabbath, because eventually the amount you gather from the work you do on the Sabbath spoils or rejects your tithe, because God will not take money that you got from a day He from heaven warned you not to work. That's why Adventists have to take the Sabbath preparation so serious. There are many people who do their own business, like welders, like carpenters, like masons, and so on and so forth, hairdressers, seamstresses, tailors. Brother, you can make half day on Friday and get back home to prepare, so that the little that you will get will receive the blessings from heaven and help you and improve upon your life. But you will work and eat into the Sabbath, especially those who do distribution, especially distribution of bread, those who bake and do distribution. Some of them would distribute their bread from 7 o'clock in the evening. Some continue even till midnight. And then they come back in the morning very tired to church and come and sleep in the church house. Because to them, they think that it is a daily business. Brother or sister, why don't you do half day work on Friday, the day of preparation, so that you can get time for your clothes, can get time for your food and so many things. On the Sabbath, be in right and good tune with your Creator. And then when you bring the whole tithe, it is already accepted by heaven. And see whether the floodgates will open. Now, this floodgate issue, if you want to look at it critically, check from Malachi 3:10. It says, prove me now, not tomorrow. Prove me from today that I received this money from you. Now check it again. You've not read it well. Prove me now. Now. But you've given for so many years, and nothing is happening, and you don't even care to investigate this. Tonight, I'm doing it on your behalf, and if this is where your weakness is, go back there and go back to the drawing table and make changes, and you will receive the blessings that have been promised by the Creator Himself. Having your own business, avoid working full day on Friday. It's not helping you. It is rather damaging your blessings before the Creator. It's not helping you. So that's one point you need to wear. Then working hours are always counted from base. So if you leave the house until you come back to your house, you are at work. And therefore, if you should close around 6, 7, and you are still on your way sitting in buses doing all sort of things, paying the bus driver and the rest, and you tell me it is a holy Sabbath, so you are observing it, you have a problem. If we can avoid it, we should try to avoid it. There are people who work on the Sabbath, which is accepted. I remember GC made a document, and General Conference says that if you are a nurse, if you are a doctor, if you are a physician, if you are this, if you are, it mentions some of the critical works that we cannot avoid with. And it says that those in those businesses can come to church any other Sabbath so that they can serve humanity and serve their Creator. And so there's room there. But there are people who thought that because I'm a nurse and because I'm a doctor, every Sabbath they should put me on duty. So when will you serve your Creator? And therefore, these things are there for checks. And when you use clear conscience to do it, the windows will definitely open. Because God didn't promise you of his blessings in the future. He says, prove me now. In other translations, it says, test me now. And this is what we have to do. Your struggling bosses are all going against you. This can make your tithe unacceptable before God. And so, where do you deposit your tithe is a final, investigation that we will do. Where do you deposit your tithe? Sometimes you are so clever. You are a master of your own that simple instructions doesn't guide you. Here we are, God says, bring all the tithe into the storehouse. And then you also say that, well, the managers of the storehouse are not doing it right. Teacher know all. The managers of the storehouse are not doing it right. So I would like to distribute the tithe for God according to my conscience. You may see somebody preaching and you take your tithe, which the Lord has directed that take it to the storehouse. You take it to that person because that person is doing God's work. Some people may need church building. You take your tithe and go and give the money for the building. Meanwhile, there are directives as to where to take the money and how we can fund those projects. And today, the Lord is calling you to order. If you want, he will prove things for you to know that he's still alive, and what he is yesterday, he's the same today and will be like this forever and ever. I'm saying that don't do the distribution for God. You have your tithe, you're going to church, you find a sick person, and now you've turned the sick person's needs as the storehouse where you need to deposit the money. Now, know that tells God you are so greedy. I will explain. Because before you got the tithe, you already had 90% with you. Why didn't you use some of the 90% that is still with you to solve that problem for that poor sickler? Why will you use somebody's money without his instructions to disperse? But here we are, he says that the instruction is so simple. Bring all. Don't even give any on your way. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. And try me now in this, says the Lord of hosts. You can't also make deductions for what you earn during Sabbath hours. Therefore, be honest. For instance, you are now hearing from me that working on the Sabbath, the income that you get, if you add it to your regular tithe, it makes it not acceptable. So you may decide that, well, because I work on the Sabbath and God warned me not to do that and I've done it, that money, I can't add it to the tithe so that the tithe will not be defiled or the tithe will not be unacceptable. And so I'm taking it. Therefore, if you take that also out of the tithe, the problem you are creating is that you are not following the instruction that says, bring all. So you see, kosi and kosi, koda and koda. If you bring it, there's a problem. If you don't bring it you don't fulfill the statement that the Lord has said. Now tonight I'm saying that check on this. Check on these. And your tithe will be accepted. And the blessings will acknowledge you that you've done it right. God bless you and stay blessed. Continue to listen to this program because there's more to be revealed from tomorrow and the rest of the days. God bless you.
All right, thank you very much, Pastor, for this wonderful presentation. Investigative judgment in tithing. Interesting. Keep your questions coming through on the number 055-968-0066. 055-968-0066. Pastor, thank you so much for this presentation.
Thank you too.
There are a series of questions. First one is this. Is it right to tithe? What do I mean? My father returns tithe. He gives me money for food. Do I have to return tithe?
You've named the money already. It's for food. It's not for tithe.
Does it come to me as
I've already answered it. So
okay.
You leave it there.
Okay. Do I have to if I want to send my tithe daily through Momo, is it right?
Well, Momo came as a necessity. So we have not done much investigation on it. But to me, if you use the Momo, it will still go to the storehouse. Maybe the church may have a Momo account. It will go in, they will cash it and put it in the storehouse. So it's a way of transmission to get there. If you have the opportunity to go with it yourself, that is fine. But if not, and that could help you do the same.
So I'm looking at e-levy or Momo. Who pays the e-levy? Is it a return?
Well, it's when you are going to church to return your tithe, who pays for your transport? Are you answered?
All right. You mentioned gifts.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw that the emphasis was mostly on money. If I am giving a shirt, I am giving a shoe, I am giving a land, do I return tithe on it?
Wear them as a capital intensive item to serve the Lord and make an increase and return tithe from the increase. For instance, I once had a problem with a friend who somebody bought a car for him. Mm-hmm. And he was going around looking for how much the vehicle will cost so that he will retain a tithe on that one. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, when the figures came and he realized how much the vehicle will cost, he may not be able to get the 10% of it in his lifetime.
Wow.
You understand?
Yes.
So use the car as a capital intensive something to serve the Lord, and then it will help you to generate income. Then on the income, you return God's portion.
I am taking questions from...
So if there's a shoe somebody bought for you, mm-hmm. use that to go to work. And when you make money, don't buy the shoe again because he has already bought it for you.
That's right.
Then you can return your tithe.
Right. So I'm taking questions from viewers. How much percentage of the tithe goes to the local church? Interesting.
You see, many don't understand the Seventh-day Adventist church structure. In our church, we have only one church.
Yes.
Worldwide. And so if you return your tithe from Bodibebuabo somewhere, mm-hmm. that money, first of all, is received on behalf of the world church by your conference. Mm-hmm. And then your conference has a percentage they have to keep to serve the pastors. So what will come to the local church will be used to serve the local church pastor, mm-hmm. or the district pastor and all the needs. And then the conference will return tithe of tithe to the higher organizations. So eventually what you return in that village will be received at the general conference.
Okay. How do I calculate my tithe as a government worker?
Well, the manual gave two directives. The first is that you can use the gross to calculate your tithe, and you can use the net income to calculate the tithe. Both are right, depending on where you find yourself on the globe.
Okay.
For instance, in certain jurisdiction, some of the tithe will come back to you. So you don't have to use the gross, you have to use the net, so that each time there's an income, you tax it again. You tithe it again, you understand?
Yes.
So you can use the gross and you can use the net depending on where you find yourself.
Okay.
In Ghana, for instance, if you choose to go by the net, eventually Social Security will come back again on your retirement and you have to tithe it. But if you want to go on gross and Social Security comes, the amount that is coming is your interest is inclusive.
Yes.
So how will you tithe it? That's why we may advise that you can go on the net income instead of the gross.
Pastor, you made a crucial point this evening, that if I work on Sabbath, my tithes will be rejected by God.
Well, I want you to answer it yourself, Pastor. God says, thou shalt do no work on the Sabbath. And yet the same God will receive your tithe when you disobey him and work on the Sabbath, and will open the windows of heaven and shower his blessings. Pastor, how do you see this?
Pastor, I am doing the question.
Now, these are simple logic.
Yeah.
The man warned you not to do it, and you did it, and yet you are bringing him a portion that I disobeyed your instructions and I made so much. So this is your 10%.
It's not like God needs your money to survive.
Yes. He's a schoolboy in your house. He needed your money. He doesn't need the money. He needs obedience.
Yes. All right. So, in effect, if you're hard, you would say, keep your Sabbath money.
Yes.
All right. There are still messages coming through. Pastor, please, after taking a loan, the leftover of your salary is the one we should take 10%, or the main gross?
No, the salary is always 100%. You have gone ahead to take a prepaid.
Yes.
So anytime you receive the salary, if they deduct the loan you've taken, it will reduce the quantum. But you have to make it 100% as if you have not taken a loan and return God's portion.
Okay. I'm a master and I have 3 apprentices. Every day I have to give them chop money from my income. Do I have to deduct their chop money from the income before paying my tithe?
Yes.
Or I should deduct the tithe?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
Because those are tools you use in making the income. And so you don't have to deduct their food they ate before, because they need to eat and get the strength to make the income.
I am a government worker. Monthly, I take 2,000 as my salary, and I have taken a loan because the money is not sufficient for me. Because of the loan, my monthly salary has been reduced. Is it possible for me to return my tithe on the real salary or the reducing?
On the real salary, because nobody has asked you to go for that money. It is you who decided to do that. So you take your tithe from your real salary. And that's why the bank, I think, has a threshold of how much you can borrow.
Yes.
I think some 45% have to remain with you so that you will not go beyond surviving, after the loan.
Good evening. Please, I am a nurse. I go to work on Saturday. So if I am paid and I return my tithe, will God accept it?
I just quoted about the nurses and the doctors, the church decision or the policy directive on that.
Yes.
That God will accept it. But don't go every Sabbath to arrange with, so that you can have any other Sabbath to worship and any other Sabbath to do.
Also, if I return my tithe without an offering due to hardship, would I still receive God's blessings?
You are a thief. sorry to put it that way, but I'm using the same Malachi 3.
You're quoting.
Yes, I'm quoting. It says, will a man rob God, yet you rob me? And in what? Then he mentioned tithe and offering. So if it is tithe or offering, then you can alternate to go one. But when you say tithe and offering, it is inclusive. So you can't say that I am squandering the offering, but I'll give the tithe. It means you are giving, some kind of importance to one of the two.
Yes.
But the man didn't say that. He paired it. He said, this and this is where you are robbing me. And the word there, robbing, is stealing.
Yes.
So when I say you are a thief, I'm...
Please, how will I calculate my tithe as a businesswoman?
Well, it depends upon the business you are doing. If you give us further and better particulars, we'll be able to...
So maybe in the course of the week.
Yes, you can do that to us.
Please, I want to ask, Pastor, please, what if I decide not to return my tithe at where I worship currently, but rather send it to a different church?
Our church says that you can return your tithe in the church where your membership belongs to. Now, if you happen to be in another church which is far from your membership, then my recommendation is, because you believe that God comes there every Sabbath to fellowship with you, you may give it through them, because it goes the same way. It goes the same way, and the distribution is the same.
I have decided to divide my tithe into two. One in my current church, and then send the rest to my former conference.
Yeah, what I like about that statement is, I have decided to divide my tithe. Remove the word mine from there and put the Lord's tithe. So that you follow the directive that says, take it to the storehouse. You are not to divide, and you are not to, that money, as soon as, and we had a lesson, we had a course that taught us this, that the tithe, it is not when you put it in an envelope that it belongs to God. Okay. It is where you record it, whenever you record an income, whether you deduct it or not, it belongs to God.
Okay.
And therefore, if you begin spending it, then the money becomes an accursed money, and it will follow you. Yes, that statement I saw in the book of Joshua. I think chapter 7, verse 18, thereabout. The money turns, as soon as you decide to take what belongs to God, then it makes you God yourself. You understand?
Yes.
Because you are taking what belongs to God. So if you take what belongs to God as yours, then you are God for yourself. If you are sick, heal yourself. If you had any problem, solve it, because you are your own God.
Wow.
It's serious.
My question is, can I return my tithe without tithe card?
Oh, yes. Oh, that one is locally made, so you can do that.
Please, my question is, I'm working as a pharmacy attendant. What time should I close from work on Fridays, since I'm attending to those who are not feeling well?
It's interesting. There are so many pharmacy shops in the country that belongs to Adventists. I know of Careview Pharmacy.
Yeah.
Just on my way. It's owned by an Adventist. Friday by 5:30 thereabout, it's closed. Because it's not like you are the only pharmacy in Ghana or in the community where you find yourself. It is rather being greedy that you don't want the customers to go anywhere. That's why you will stay even in the hours that God has asked you to stop work.
Wow. Please, after returning the Lord's tithes and offering, is it necessary to give again for other church activities?
Yes, now that you have the tithe, which is meant for the pastoral work and which is meant for evangelism. You have the offering, which is used basically to show your appreciation to God. You need a place of worship. That's the project given. And that's also a biblical item. We will treat it here.
Okay.
So we don't want to lead before the teachings.
Maybe the last one. Please come, pensioners, return tithes and offering on monthly allowances.
But that's what we have said. It was gathered from when they were working.
Yes.
So now it has become an income, and they should make God feel that he's the one taking care of them. So now, they should return it.
Pastor, where is the storehouse?
It's a topic of its own in this seminar, so we'll treat it.
All right.
But the storehouse was built in the Bible times, and it was Konania who was the storehouse keeper, and his brother Shimei. And so in Israel, there was a storehouse. Now, the Seventh-day Adventist says that the storehouse, because we have one church, the storehouse belongs to the conference where the church finds itself. And so the conference receives on behalf of the world church and make sure it is passed on.
All right, Pastor, thank you. I have seen that the e-levy still keeps coming. So maybe we'll have to spend time and then talk about Mumu, tithe, sending your tithe through Mumu. So, Pastor, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Thank you for running us through investigative judgment in tithing. So if there is anything to be done, I am sure that you are putting things together because the Lord is willing and ready to bless us. We have just begun. We started just yesterday night. We are continuing till Sabbath. So every evening, stay tuned, 8 to 9 o'clock. Pastor Dr. Paul Edusampa would be here to help us understand stewardship and how the Lord would bless us and how we are also missing the blessings from God. So I have been your host, Pastor Obed Kwabena Obeng. We want to say thank you for tuning into Hope TV Ghana. God bless you and good night.